Hello class and welcome to chapter 9. In this lecture we're going to be talking about the organizational life cycle. So let's get started. Every organization goes through a life cycle. That life cycle consists of 5 different stages: birth, growth, maturity, decline, and eventually death. We're going to examine this life cycle a little bit closer in this particular lecture. In stage 1, a company is born. Much like a person is born, organizations are born. When a person is born, they're issued a birth certificate which documents the time, nature, location of their birth. Organizations go through a similar birthing process where they're offered various certificates of the rights of existence with the Secretary of State. They are also given the rights to be able to do business in that particular state or in the nation, and they're recognized as a formal legal entity. It's important to note that organizations are completely separate legal entities from the people who create them. This is the very purpose and reason why we create organizations, is so that we can do business under this other entity as opposed to under our own name. So should something happen, a lawsuit or some form of liability, it is the organization which bears the brunt of that responsibility or economic liability, not the person who owns it. So you may be a person who has a relatively high net worth, or you have a home or a car that's very important to you and you don't want to lose that. So what you do is you create a corporation and you do business underneath that corporate name. If there is a problem that you have with a customer, supplier, or someone else, and a lawsuit ensues, they can only sue the corporation. They can't sue you as an individual, and they can't take your personal money and financial resources. They can only take resources that belong to the company should they win that lawsuit. So organizations are very important. They provide that legal protection for people as long as you don't violate the various financial rules associated with managing an organization, which namely are to keep your finances completely separate from an organization's financing. Don't pierce the veil, as they call it in accounting. Don't intermingle or commingle organizational funds with your own private money. Now, with that said, there are 2 states that typically get the most popularity, if you will, for forming corporations. That's Nevada and Delaware. And they get a lot of the popularity when it comes to forming organizations because they offer a few extra protections that other states don't tend to offer. One protection is that you don't know who the actual owner is. Like, for example, in Nevada, you don't have to have a registered owner there, so people can't find out who is the person behind the organization. That information is kept confidential. Also, Nevada and Delaware offer certain taxing benefits which may help the company save money. So you'll find a lot of people prefer to open up corporations in Nevada or Delaware, but in truth, you could open up a corporation in any of the states that comprise the United States of America. In the first stage, we have the birth. This is where the entrepreneur is forming the corporation there and getting the company off the ground. It is very common at this stage, is very entrepreneurial dominated, meaning that the founder and senior entrepreneur, the person that created the company, is actually running the company. You have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, a lot of creative thinking, creative financing, a lot of that type of activity going on in the organization. The second stage is growth. You begin to see the company execute strategies like horizontal diversification, vertical diversification. You start seeing organizations implement these various types of strategies and form functional departments. So here you're seeing a lot of policies and procedures that are being created. The HR department is being fleshed out. The marketing and finance, all sorts of other functional departments are being fleshed out, and the company is growing and maturing. In the third stage, the company is mature. So in this stage, you start to see concentric and conglomerate diversification strategies. So now we're focused on growing the company. Our products are fairly mature, well accepted in the marketplace. In terms of structure, you begin to see decentralization and focusing on profit centers within the organization. So each department may have its own profit targets, or each product, if we're offering more than one product, each product, or what we call strategic business unit, would have its own revenue targets that it's supposed to meet for itself. Stage 5 is decline. This is where the organization is beginning to lose customers, and you're thinking, hey, this corporation may be going out of business pretty soon, but the organization is declining. We need to revamp the company. We need to retool the strategies or something along that line, or else we're going to head into that 5th and final stage, which is death, liquidation, or bankruptcy. In the 5th stage, we're focused on profit strategies, followed by retrenchment. So we're going to try to extract as much profit out of our existing product lines as we possibly can and reinvest that money back into the company, ideally in other products that may help the company come back to life, that may revive the company. If that doesn't work, you head into the last stage, which is death. So liquidation and or bankruptcy. It's important to note the difference between liquidation and bankruptcy. Liquidation means that it's over, it's done. You're selling off the assets of the company so you can pay off whatever bills and creditors you may have, and you're officially formally shutting the door permanently. While bankruptcy can lead to liquidation, the two can go hand in hand if that is your strategy. More commonly, bankruptcy is a process that organizations use to get debt forgiveness. So they're saying, I have so much debt that I can't possibly repay it all. I'm going to go to the courts and I'm going to ask for the courts to grant me forgiveness on this debt. And if I can't get forgiveness on it, then to help me set up a budget that I can live with so my creditors can't sue me or cause any further harm to the company. So think of bankruptcy as either a prequel to liquidation, because the court, it could end up in court mandated liquidation, or as a restructuring, meaning that I may have to pay this debt off over 5 years with a 10% interest. Well, as a result of the bankruptcy, I now have 15 years at a 5% interest because I can manage those payments, and that can save the company from going out of business and me laying off all the employees that work for the company. These are the 5 stages of organizational life. It's also important to note that a corporation can bounce from one stage to the other. So you can be in a maturity stage, come up with brand new products and go right back into the growth phase. This is why some companies have lasted so long. They've been able to reinvent themselves or come up with new products and solutions that could push them back further upstream that product life cycle. Let's talk a little bit about international issues and multinational corporations. This is a highly developed international company with a deep involvement throughout the world and a worldwide perspective in its management and decisions. When you think multinational companies, I want you to think of a company that operates in multiple nations, much like the name suggests, multinational, multiple nations. Companies that are multinational tend to have separate and unique strategies per country that they operate in. So if you have a Japanese division, a Egyptian division, a Poland division, each of those divisions will have their own separate strategy that they're executing within that country in order to ensure organizational success. The profits are then rolled up into a corporate or worldwide organization and reported that way. In this scenario, each country could have a distinct looking brand. They could offer different products. They could have their own marketing strategies and product development strategies that have nothing to do with the other countries. So you can have a very fragmented or disjointed approach when you have multinational organizations. When it comes to being a global organization, so see stage number 5 here, a global organization is a company that operates in multiple countries with a single strategy. They offer a single product across all countries that they operate in, across all consumer groups. There may be some slight tweaks to the product to make sure that it's acceptable in that particular country, but in general, it's the same product and the similar marketing strategy. So if you were to go to China versus Japan versus Holland versus Poland, you'll see the same branding and same imagery, same color, same strategy for that particular product. A good company to think of here would be like McDonald's. So let's look at the stages of international development. You have the domestic company. This is a company that only operates within its home country. You have the domestic company, which does exporting. This is a company that primarily operates in its own country, but then they send products out overseas. You have a primarily domestic company with international divisions. So this is a company that focuses primarily on the country that it exists within. However, they may have divisions outside. And those divisions may be providing manufacturing resources. They may be providing, they may even be selling some products, but they're primarily geared towards that main country that the company operates in, which is its home country. Next, you have stage 4, a multinational company with multi-domestic emphasis. This is what I was describing earlier about a company that is operating in multiple countries, but each country has its own unique strategies that it's implementing. And those strategies and products may differ drastically from one country to another. The last stage you have is called multinational corporation with a global emphasis. This is what I was calling a global organization. And in this type of structure, you have one single strategy that is implemented across the entire world, single branding. You may have some slight customization of products per country depending on consumer tastes and preferences, but in general, the base product is the same across the entire globe. That wraps it up for international strategies. Please study hard, and we'll see you later. Thank you.